In a stunning turn of events that would shake the very foundations of rock and roll, Elvis Presley made an unexpected choice that would change the course of his career. It was 1969 and Elvis was at a crossroads. He had just turned down an opportunity to join Scotty Moore, DJ Fontana, and the Jordanaires for a European tour. The reason? A short engagement in Vegas, promised to be just a month long, had become a pivotal moment in his life. But this wasn't just any gig, it meant saying no to trusted friends and a cut in pay. Scotty Moore, Elvis's longtime guitarist, felt a deep sting at being left behind. He had hoped to tour Europe, a dream deferred after a previous fallout with Elvis. But the decision was more complex than just personal ambitions. Elvis was about to embark on a transformative journey, one that would see him move beyond the boundaries of rock and roll. Elvis wanted a band that could reflect his diverse musical tastes: country, gospel, blues, rock, and big ballads. The musicians he chose would not only back him, but also help redefine his sound. After rejecting Scotty, Elvis turned his attention to James Burton, a name that had already made waves in the music world. Burton, known for his electrifying guitar work on Susie Q, was busy but agreed to meet Elvis. James Burton was more than just a guitarist, he was a rock and roll legend in his own right. Elvis wanted musicians who could adapt to his evolving style. He was no longer just a rock and roll singer, he wanted to be a versatile artist capable of delivering a wide range of American music. The plan was ambitious: a 35-piece orchestra, multiple groups of backup singers, and a stage show that would leave audiences breathless. Elvis was clear about his vision: "I want musicians who can play every kind of music." The audition process was intense, with Burton standing out for his ability to handle diverse genres effortlessly. But it wasn't just about musical talent. Elvis needed someone who could keep up with his high-energy performances. As Elvis finalized his plans, he faced resistance from Colonel Parker, his manager. Parker was worried about the expense. Elvis would be paying around 50 people, including musicians and singers, but Elvis was firm. "It's a big stage for me to cover," he insisted. The plan involved rehearsing over 50 songs, selecting the best 20 for each night, and being ready to switch things up if something wasn't working. Before his Vegas debut, Elvis took Priscilla to see Tom Jones perform. Impressed by Jones's stage presence and ability to captivate a large audience, Elvis saw an opportunity to learn. He wanted to bring that same energy to his own shows. On July 31st, Elvis stepped onto the stage in a Las Vegas transformed by his presence. Wearing a tailored black karate suit, he began with a high-energy performance of Blue Suede Shoes, followed by I Got a Woman and That's All Right. Though he was rushing through the songs, the crowd's uncritical applause fueled his confidence. During a break, Elvis shared snippets of his life story with the audience, a practice that would become familiar. He introduced himself repeatedly as if they didn't know who he was, a trait that both amused and endearing him to his fans. The showroom was packed with celebrities, friends, and family, a mix of old acquaintances and new faces. Anne Margaret and Fats Domino were among those in attendance, along with Pat Boone, who had once been a rival but was now a supporter. Even Paul Anka and Shirley Bassey made an appearance, along with Liberace and Burt Bacharach. Elvis was acutely aware of the people from Memphis who were there to support him, including Sam Phillips, the man who had launched his career. He had invited Phillips, hoping for that reassuring nod of approval. Instead, Phillips, as usual, offered practical advice, reminding Elvis to focus on his music. But Elvis was more concerned with the perceptions of those who had doubted him in the past. The success of his Vegas shows would prove that he had evolved, that he was more than the roles he had played in movies. "I sure got into a rut with those films," he would later say, his voice tinged with a mix of humor and genuine reflection. That first show was a turning point. Elvis finished with a new ending to Hound Dog, replaced by the softer Can't Help Falling in Love. As the curtain fell, he felt an overwhelming sense of excitement. The old Elvis was gone, replaced by a new, more confident performer ready to take on the world. The Vegas engagement was just the beginning of a new chapter in his life and career. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, found himself in a familiar yet different environment. It was a few days after he had shared his thoughts with some English journalists. Now surrounded by familiar faces, including 4 of his close friends known as the Memphis Mafia, Elvis relaxed on a red Spanish sofa. This was in the backstage suite of a place where he was performing. He was sipping 7-Up, a popular drink, and was worried about the dry air in Las Vegas starting to affect his throat. Elvis had changed a lot since his last visit to Britain. He had lost weight, which was no small feat, thanks to a strict diet and lots of sweating during his shows. He even joked about the diet pills he was taking while chatting and playing air guitar, singing a Beatles song, "I Saw Her Standing There." He promised himself he would perform live in Britain soon. While Elvis laughed and chatted, his manager, known as the Colonel, sat nearby. The Colonel was always watchful, making sure nothing went wrong. Elvis, feeling comfortable, talked about his favorite music group, the Platters, showing how relaxed he was. He also shared some jokes, like the time a fan threw her panties at him on stage, which made everyone laugh. However, when asked about his films, Elvis's expression changed. He looked uncomfortable talking about the movies and songs he had to make after leaving the army. He admitted that some were not good, but he had to do them because of contracts he signed after his military service. He promised, though, that there would be no more bad films. Elvis yearned to perform live again, something he had wanted for years. He expressed his eagerness to get back on stage, but he brushed off the idea of making more money, saying he didn't care about the money. This was when the Colonel gently reminded Elvis and the public that the Colonel had no say in Elvis's finances. Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, and his accountant handled all his money. As Elvis talked about his life and career, it became clear that there were strains in his personal life too. His marriage to Priscilla was not as fulfilling as he had hoped. They came from different worlds. Priscilla was more free-spirited while Elvis wanted stability. Their differences included religion and Priscilla's interest in music, which Elvis couldn't share as deeply. Elvis found joy in talking to the musicians he worked with, like those in the Sweet Inspirations, but he struggled to connect with Priscilla in the same way. Despite these challenges, Elvis loved to laugh and enjoy moments of lightheartedness. He cherished times with the Sweet Inspirations, where they could relax and talk music. He also enjoyed the company of women, though his marriage had become more about convenience than passion, especially after the arrival of their daughter, Lisa Marie. Elvis understood that his lifestyle choices had created distance between him and Priscilla. While she took care of their daughter and stayed in Los Angeles, he was off partying in Vegas with friends. Priscilla tried to bridge the gap by learning new skills like dancing and acting, and even taking karate classes, hoping to reconnect. Through it all, Elvis remained a complex figure, a superstar with a heart full of dreams, desires, and regrets. His story was one of immense talent, personal struggles, and the constant search for happiness, both on and off stage. After the excitement of his Vegas performances, Elvis found himself at a crossroads. He had just finished a hugely successful run with Suspicious Minds topping charts around the world. Yet he felt lost without the glamour and excitement of being on the road or performing in movies. In August 1969, instead of heading to a new film location or enjoying time with new friends, he chose a break and took his beloved Priscilla to Hawaii. It was a getaway, but they were never truly alone, as they invited friends along. During their time in Hawaii, they considered going to Europe next. But Elvis listened to the Colonel, who warned him that appearing in London without having toured there first would upset fans who had supported him so loyally. It seemed strange to Elvis, but he followed the Colonel's advice, much like the young, insecure boy he once was. Instead of visiting Europe, they went to the Bahamas. There, Elvis met a group of musicians called the Witnesses and even tried out an Irish song his mother used to like. However, their holiday wasn't entirely peaceful. Rain kept them indoors, and Elvis and Priscilla's relationship became strained again. When they returned home, Elvis felt restless. He started making secret trips to Dallas to see an air stewardess he knew. Meanwhile, his music kept coming. New songs like In the Ghetto, Don't Cry Daddy, and Kentucky Rain kept flowing, showing his ongoing creativity. Elvis's style also evolved during this period. Remember how he used to change his outfits frequently, from pink and green to a gold suit and later a black karate outfit. In February 1970, Bill Ballou created a new look for him, a white jumpsuit. This suit with rhinestones and eventually a cape became iconic. It helped Elvis stand out on stage, no longer lost among the crowd. But Priscilla saw this as a sign of his insecurity, believing he didn't need all the glitz. To her, it seemed like a cry for help, though Elvis never admitted it. The new look worked well in Vegas. The second season was another success, with Elvis adding piano performances and new songs to the mix. He even recorded The Wonder of You live, which became a hit. The Colonel was thrilled as it was a cheap way to produce a big hit using the band and backing singers who were already paid for the show. But life was busy. After a late-night show in February, Elvis headed to Texas for the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Despite early problems with the sound system, he drew over 200,000 fans over 3 days, more than he had in a month in Vegas. It was clear that touring was where the real money was in the 70s, unlike the days of selling records through personal appearances. Musically, Elvis faced a decision. Returning to American sound in Memphis seemed logical, but past conflicts made it unfeasible. The tension between Elvis, the Colonel, and other producers like Felton Jarvis created a complicated situation. They decided to go back to Nashville, but without some of the familiar faces like Scotty and DJ from the American Sound sessions. In Nashville, they recorded a lot of songs in just 5 days, producing a decent amount of material. However, the quality was not as high as before. Elvis was racing from song to song, and while they managed to create material for several albums and singles, only one song, a cover of Dusty Springfield's You Don't Have to Say You Love Me, became a lasting hit. To save the session, they compiled 12 songs into the Elvis Country album, featuring a young photo of Elvis on the cover. Despite the efforts, this album marked a step back from the innovative work they had done earlier. The music industry was changing, and Elvis was caught in the middle. His struggles with production and the shift in the industry's focus showed that even the king had his challenges. Yet through it all, his passion for music and entertaining never faded. His journey continued, marked by both triumphs and trials, reflecting the complex life of a man who was as much a product of his time as he was a shaper of it.